Boom. Welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch. I'm John Tobacco. I'm coming to you from the Corona Bunker studio in my living room still, as now New York is under siege. But I am contemplating a move back to the studio very soon, and hopefully I'll be joined by both of these guys. Joining me right now, again, Frank Morano, and we have established new connection with Fernando Uribe. Hey, Fernando, how are you?
John, Frank, once again, thanks for having me back on.
So we were just in the middle of it when we had a little technical difficulty there. We're talking about, the absurdity of, hundreds of people can gather for a mass for someone who got killed by a cop, but 10 people can't, more than 10 people can't grieve someone. That's getting crazy now.
It really is. And I know that today, even the governor in New Jersey announced that pools will be reopening next week as well, in addition to other businesses. The 22nd of June. While next Monday, restaurants will have outdoor dining. But again, since March, all we've heard, John and Frank, is the notion of we have to stay home, we have to flatten the curve, and being outside is not permissible. We're going to be endangering lives. And certainly what has happened in the last 96 hours is a massive amount of protests, albeit some peaceful ones in New Jersey nonetheless. But how about for people that want to reopen their businesses? How about for people like myself that I was lucky enough to have a very small funeral and burial for my grandmother, but other people in New Jersey did not have that luxury to do that with the loss of loved ones or weddings or even graduations. And then we see the governor yesterday marching in Hillside, New Jersey with Black Lives Matter. Now, again, I don't want to get sort of dissection of what I think of BLM, but it seems very hypocritical of the governor to sort of say one thing and then do another. But that's typical liberal politics, John.
Yeah, Fernando, I mean, one of the nice things about the lockdown, if there is anything nice over the last 3 or 4 months, is it's sort of been a built-in excuse not to go to anything.
Sure.
Nobody likes traveling to New Jersey or Connecticut for a wedding or for a Sweet 16 or a graduation. And now we've gotten to participate in all these functions via Zoom. Now that businesses appear to be poised to reopen, what are people supposed to do in order to have an excuse not to go to anything?
Well, that's a great question. And really, what we've seen in recent weeks is a lot of outrage in New Jersey from small business owners, from even some activists saying, listen, Governor Murphy, be consistent. What are we supposed to do to earn? You've done nothing to address the problems with the unemployment computers and the data banks, and where thousands of New Jerseyans are still waiting for unemployment checks. Now, in fairness to him, this promise preceded him for many, many years to prior governors. But now the governor, again, is sort of putting New Jerseyans in a really tough spot where, again, in recent weeks, they've issued summonses, whether it's local police departments or even the state police have issued summonses for businesses reopening. But this past weekend here in North Jersey, we saw protest after protest. And yes, they were peaceful, thankfully, at least up here in North Jersey. But what do we see? We saw thousands of people converging. Now, unless there's this sort of mass immunity that I'm not aware of, what exactly are we doing here? And I think that this calls into question a lot of what we've been subjected to for the last 3 months.
Yeah, I think it's part of why some of these kids are going really super crazy, because there's so much pent-up anger and frustration or whatever it is from being locked in, that I think, especially these millennial kids, they're up for anything now. You know what I mean? To get out of the house and go wild. And, the whole group, radicalization it kind of happens when you have this Antifa types like fomenting,
No, sure, John. And furthermore, again, and this is something I think that's become very conflated due to a lot of the toxicity that's on social media. You can have an opinion where you can want reform for certain police tactics and practices, but you can also be concerned about reopening the state much sooner than than the state should have been opened. And this is something that you can have. They can both be mutually exclusive of each other. But this is again where Governor Murphy and to some extent Governor Cuomo has allowed chaos to sort of reign on the streets per se. But at the same time, New Jerseyans and New Yorkers want to earn. They want to get back to work. We've seen this pandemic cost over $5 trillion to our economy, and nobody has any answers, John. And this is very frustrating as a taxpayer, and I think just as a citizen.
Fernando, we're learning today that apparently the recession that we're currently in the midst of, it officially began in February. What do we take from that? That marks the official end to the longest economic recovery in American history. What do we learn from that? Does that mean that we start from zero again? Where are we heading economically going forward?
Well, my best guess forward, and again, I'm not an economist, but if I had to give you an educated guess, I would argue that the regulations that were already in place during the president's administration, I would argue, were working. And now we saw, I think, jobs report over the weekend that showed a little bit of a glimmer of hope about jobs being added. And I would just argue, gentlemen, that as the states continue to reopen and businesses reopen, we're going to be seeing more people back to work. And certainly, listen, the idea of waiting for a check at home, I think that premise has gone by the wayside. I know thousands of people here in the state of New Jersey that have still not even received their first stimulus check. So at the end of the day, they want to earn, they want to go back to work. And I would argue that once that happens, I would venture to say by Labor Day, and this is sort of an optimistic guess, we may not be back to numbers that we were talking about back in the studio in January, but I think we'll see a pretty healthy recovery by Labor Day. And come election cycle, you know what? That's exactly what the president needs to sort of strengthen his argument for re-election this November 3rd.
Yep. All right, Fernando, we got to leave it there. We'll keep you. He's on with us every week on Money Monday because he's one of our money guests, and you can find him on Politically Direct on Insider NJ, also a faculty member at Bergen Community College. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the Blue Lives Matter panel right after this.